Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's joke. Um, as a follow up to my Apollo moon landing reality or farce video that I did recently, I had a follow up conversation with a subsequent conversation with a friend who believes it and he thinks I'm nuts, and that's fine because I used to think people like me were nuts, but there was a certain aspect of the Apollo thing that he just seemed to be fixated on, and I guess because he's engineer by training and electrical engineer, I think it is, and he says, "You mean all the rocket scientists were duped?" Or he said, "Do you believe the Saturn V rockets? Do you believe they were really developed?" And blah blah blah. And I said, I'm not focused on the rockets at all, but there's just been some comments about Werner von Braun, who was the rocket designer, the ex-Nazi rocket designer for Apollo, and I said, okay. So I wasn't getting anywhere talking with my friend. So I said, well, I don't have all the facts right at my fingertips. So I said, let me pose a few questions to ChatGPT, and I think I may have sent this to him, but I thought it was interesting, and I thought you might be interested. Okay. So for my first question is, I'm curious about some activity and comments from Werner von Braun about the rocket size required to go to the moon and refueling several times along the way, something about rockets the size of the Empire State Building being required to do the job in one shot, and his also end his trip to Antarctica to collect moon meteorites, later to be pawned off on little souvenirs to other countries. Oh, well, look, we went to the moon, and here's some moon rocks, when they were actually moon meteorites that had fallen to um, Antarctica. But I guess they fall everywhere, but they're easily visible and collectible down there. So that's why he went down there. I understand. Anyways, I heard a lot of these things, so I wanted to see what ChatGPT would say about this. And then I just asked ChatGPT, please bullet point your answer. Okay, so here's a summary of the relevant information about claims about what Werner Braun and the topics you mentioned. The rocket size for moon missions. Werner von Braun, in early conceptualizations of moon missions, reported suggesting that a rocket capable of traveling to the moon and back in one shot would need to be extraordinarily large, potentially as tall as the Empire State Building, which is 1,250 feet, without the antenna. This claim highlighted the immense fuel and payload requirements for a single-stage mission, leading NASA to develop multi-stage rockets like the Saturn V, which were significantly smaller. They were 363 feet tall. Refueling along the way. Von Braun's early plans included the concept of refueling stations in orbit, as he believed this could mitigate the massive fuel requirements for direct travel. Modern space, next bullet point. Modern space exploration advocates, such as Elon Musk, have also discussed the need for multi-refueling missions to achieve Moon and Mars exploration, adding skepticism for some about the Apollo program's single launch capability. Okay, next bold bullet point. Von Braun's trip to Antarctica. Werner von Braun traveled to Antarctica in 1967 under the guise of scientific research with the National Science Foundation. Some conspiracy theories suggest that this trip was to collect moon meteorites, later distributed as moon rocks to various nations as a part of goodwill gestures during the Apollo program. These claims remain speculative and lack concrete evidence. Von Braun's trip was officially related to the studying of extreme conditions and their relevance to space exploration. Okay. Moon meteorites and diplomatic grifts. Oh, not grifts. Sorry. Gifts, diplomatic gifts. There are documented instances of moon rocks given to foreign governments being revealed as terrestrial material, e.g. petrified wood given to the Netherlands. This has fueled doubts about the authenticity of Apollo samples. NASA maintains that the actual lunar samples returned from during the Apollo missions have been rigorously analyzed and authenticated. Of course. Then a summary. Von Braun's early skepticism about the feasibility of lunar missions without innovative solutions like orbital refueling, coupled with questions surrounding moon rocks, remains a focal point for critics of the Apollo program. Let me know if you'd like further details. Okay. My follow-up question. What does NASA say about the Apollo telemetry data that could prove Apollo 11 went to the moon? It was destroyed. NASA has addressed the issue of Apollo telemetry data, particularly concerning Apollo 11, with the following points. First, telemetry tapes lost or overwritten. NASA has acknowledged that the original telemetry data tapes from Apollo 11 were either lost or overwritten due to a shortage of magnetic tapes in the 1980s, or conveniently to hide the truth. These tapes contain the raw data sent from the spacecraft during the mission, including critical navigation and system performance data. Next bullet point, preserved records. Despite the loss of the original telemetry tapes, NASA asserts that sufficient records exist to prove the Apollo mission's authenticity. Sub-bullet point. High-quality video and audio recordings of the mission. High-quality video and audio recordings of the mission? Sorry, the landing was this grainy third generation a camera filming a television screen in the NASA mission. This is me speaking, not ChatGPT. I'm just interjecting some thoughts here. But anyways, so high quality video and audio, questionable. Transcripts of communication between the astronauts and mission control. Okay. I heard that this is me talking now, that the engineers or the scientists are on the ground in that big room with all the computers. I was told that there was no way for them to tell whether the data coming across their screens was actual or a simulation. Okay. The third data point, or bullet point. Data archived in other formats, such as hard copy printouts and secondary recordings. I don't know. Okay, next, large bullet point. Third-party verifications. NASA points to external evidence as corroboration, including tracking and monitoring of the Apollo missions by independent organizations, including observatories in Australia and Spain. Tracking and monitoring. If in Houston, those people on the computer screens in Houston couldn't tell of the difference between actual data and a simulation, if they couldn't tell, how could anyone else? That's my thinking. Next sub-bullet point. Photographic evidence of Apollo landing sites captured by modern lunar orbiters, such as NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, LRO, and images from other space agencies like China's. I'm going to have to beg to differ on that one. The only images I've seen, I've been told that this is our space junk from the Apollo missions, but due to the bad resolution of the photographs, they're just black and white dots or smudges. You can't see anything. Yeah, they could tell you, okay, this is that, this is that, this is the other thing. Okay. So next large bullet point. Public response to conspiracies. NASA officials have consistently refuted moon landing conspiracy theories, emphasizing the overwhelming scientific and physical evidence supporting the Apollo program. Such as, while acknowledging the loss of telemetry tapes is unfortunate, darn it, we lost those tapes, they maintained it does not undermine the totality of the evidence supporting the missions. Okay. The missing telemetry data has often been a focal point for skeptics. Still, NASA asserts that the collective body of evidence from moon rocks to the international tracking to photographs of the landing sites is compelling and irrefutable. I would beg to differ. Okay, my next question to ChatGPT. What were Kelly Smith's, a scientist at NASA, what were his exact words on that video on the NASA website about first overcoming technical obstacles before man can explore the moon and Mars? I remember when watching this, I think, does he know that we were supposed to have gone? But he claims that these technological hurdles, such as protecting man and machine when they go from the radiation, the deadly Van Allen belts, would require very thick lead shielding on the space capsule and stuff like that. So anyways, here's ChatGPT's answer. Kelly Smith, an engineer and scientist at NASA, appeared in 2014 video discussing the challenges of space exploration, particularly in the context of NASA's Orion program. His remarks have been cited and scrutinized by skeptics of the Apollo moon landings. Here's a paraphrase of his statements as recorded. First, Van Allen radiation belts. Smith highlighted the challenges posed by the Van Allen radiation belts, zones of intense radiation surrounding the Earth that spacecraft must pass through to reach deep space. He stated that NASA is working on technologies to protect astronauts from radiation exposure during the future missions to the moon and Mars. Didn't we go in 1969? But we're still working with it, grappling with these technologies. Okay. Next, big bullet point: overcoming technical obstacles. In the video, Smith said something akin to, "We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space." Before we send people through this region of space. Before. We haven't solved them. Therefore, we can't send a man through these regions of space. So, anyways, this has been interpreted by some as an admission that these challenges have not yet been resolved, raising questions about how the Apollo astronauts reportedly passed through the belts during their missions. Okay. The context of the video was the development of new spacecraft systems for future deep space exploration, not a direct commentary on Apollo. Okay, so what? NASA has claimed, no. NASA has clarified that the technology used during the Apollo program, such as limiting exposure and shielding, was deemed sufficient for the missions. Okay. So that's all I have on that. So anyways, this, the more you look into it, the more questions I have. And for me, the smoking gun is them faking being halfway to the moon, faking photographs of being halfway to the moon when they were supposed to be halfway to the moon, and yet the timestamp on the video of this low Earth orbit staging of photographs. You can see this in the film, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon by Bart Sibrel. Great documentary. I suggest you all watch that. But anyways, there you have it. Bye-bye.